Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And it's time for another daily dose of dismal Disney. And this is actually one of the most dismal Disney stories we've covered in recent years. The situation with the Disney whistleblower.
And you notice how nobody's talking about it?
Nobody seems to be talking about
They did initially. And then it just all went away.
It all went away. Well, we have a massive update on what's going on in the situation with Sandra Kuba. And we have been covering this for, God, off and on for about 3 years now. And after the initial, shoe dropped, you didn't hear a whole lot about it. And unfortunately, Ms. Kuba's home life or family life has been pretty awful. As I understand, she's gone through some very horrible things dealing with Disney's lawyers. But it does seem that this situation is being resolved, not resolved the way that some people would probably like it to be resolved, but probably in, what would be in her best interest.
And precedents are being set, which is what matters.
Yeah, so let's talk about this situation before we get into it any further. Please subscribe for more pop culture, news, views, and rants, guys, here on Clownfish TV. Over 276,000 subs. Thank you for the support. Check out piratesandprincesses.net, objective Disney news. We are former vetted Disney media personalities, former Disney influencers. I actually worked on licensed Disney projects for a number of years.
You used to.
Used to.
That's why no one's covering this stuff. They're afraid they won't get their cookies.
Exactly. I think that some of Disney's PR people probably reached out to some of these media outlets and told them to knock it off. I would not be surprised if MarketWatch, who broke the story, actually was possibly threatened by Disney.
I don't know that, but I do know that no one's covering it.
Nobody's talking about the update that I'm aware of anyway. So you actually covered the update a couple of days ago, and now we're going to do a video on it. Disney has settled the case with whistleblower Sandy Kuba.
Right. Now, our friend Sarah sent it over. She's been following it quite closely. And on her Facebook page, Sandy Kuba had posted that it had been settled, and that they were working on getting it taken care of. But what happened was, for those who aren't familiar with what happened, I better go back, explain that first. What happened was, she worked as a senior financial analyst for Disney for years. Good standing, was exemplary employee, all that. Well, when she was doing her job, she was reviewing some software from Disney that was supposed to take care of accounting and stuff. And she noticed some anomalies that were allowing Disney to claim like $3 billion a year in false revenue. That, of course, reflected favorably for Disney towards the investors and the SEC or the government and all that. And she reported it to the SEC. Now, they threatened her that if she did, she'd be in trouble. She reported it, and of course, they fired her, and then said it was because, waited a couple months later and said it was because, that it was detrimental to the company and she was a bad employee. And then suddenly her reviews went down and everything else. Okay, so there's this backstory. You can read it if you go to Pirates and Princesses. There's a link in the articles. Anyway, so this is going on. And then she was fired in 2017. And then she, again, tried to file with the SEC as a whistleblower. And that's the case we all heard about when we started covering it. We heard about it in 2019 when it was in the media. So that was her second attempt at filing it with the SEC. She'd already been fired for a couple of years at that point. So then it just went down the memory hole.
Yes.
Like, you didn't hear anything else. Everybody was covering it. And what was the SEC going to do? And then you never heard anything else. It just disappeared.
Yeah, we actually said that was going to happen. We said we know how Disney operates. It's gonna disappear.
Well, usually they settle and you don't hear anything. Right. She made sure that not only did she settle, but she gave an update.
Yeah.
So on her Facebook page, she put this statement out there. It says, Sandy Kuba's statement, and it was September 23rd. We settled with Disney today. Although I would have liked to continue, there was always a risk. While I have nothing to lose, the legal decisions of Judge Antoon that helped us prevail in summary judgment were too crucial to lose. They'd already been awarded the right to go to trial, and then suddenly Disney wants to settle.
Yes.
Because Disney thought they were going to stall them out. They tried every turn. They tried to prevent it from going to trial. It was going to go to trial.
Because what would have happened if it went to trial is it would have been a high-profile case, and it would have absolutely devastated their stock, because if it did come out that they were fudging numbers, people would be like, well, damn, Disney's probably been lying all these years.
Right, because then everybody would have a chance to present evidence.
Yep.
So it's interesting when it gets that it's going to go to trial, it suddenly gets settled. After years of not being settled and her husband killing himself and all this other shit she's had to deal with. Okay. So attorney Frank I can't even say that. Malatesta? I don't know. Attorney Frank is already being approached by other attorneys who are working with whistleblowers, and a top whistleblower attorney in the U.S. contacted me one day to tell me he was in awe of the survival of the case through the attempted dismissal and then summary judgment against a large corporation. And no one goes against Disney. I'm going to tell you right now, we got lawyers in Hollywood, and they've told us flat out, unless they have like a completely airtight case, they will not challenge Disney. Everybody's afraid to challenge Disney.
Yeah, and it's interesting because her husband mentioned that. Never say never. She said, people told my late husband, who was called Cuba, who unfortunately, as I understand it, took his own life because of
all this stuff.
Because of all of this, which is just absolutely heartbreaking. That you can't beat Disney. That's not true. As seen in this case, we were winning. Disney's very hard. Like, Geeky was saying, there are lawyers in Hollywood that will go toe-to-toe with any studio, but they will not touch a Disney case because
they're so afraid of Disney.
They said they're the most vicious. They are
underhanded.
The most underhanded. Their lawyers are absolutely barracudas. So
I learned at the end of this that even an official in one of the states I was seeking to protect contacted both sides when Disney tried to have the case dismissed in April 2021. The state official told them they did not know why Disney was saying it was not protected activity, because it definitely was, referring to whistleblower, reporting on things they thought was, wrong. Hearing that made me happy, but why the agencies did not help me, I don't know. Agencies being probably the SEC and so on. Stuart Messner told the SEC in January 2020, I became the poster child of whistleblowers that were not helped by the SEC. However, other companies should view Cuba versus Disney as an example of all the things a company should not do. Another poster child. Including areas where there is little in the way of previous decisions. Judge Antoon's legal decision on Cuba versus Disney are there, very strong, and they're in favor of the whistleblower. They can be referenced by future whistleblowers, and I hope they are, setting precedent. Mm-hmm. And I hope whistleblowers will learn from this case and use it as a blueprint internally and report to the SEC quickly. Frank had told me to think of the legacy I wanted to leave behind for my kids, but the legacy I need to leave is for future whistleblowers. No matter how far I could take the case and no matter how much I could win, my story would end the same due to the suicide of my husband, Cuba, a true justice fighter. So yes, it was suicide.
Yeah, that's horrible.
Perhaps this decision today will leave some rulings that will give other whistleblowers the happy ending that eludes me. I will continue to push for an investigation of Disney and work with any government officials who will listen. I will also provide help to other whistleblowers seeking advice. I told my son Bobby today, I am still the Disney whistleblower. He told me, and you always will be. Now Bobby and I find ourselves at a crossroads. We can go in any direction, and I am sure for each there is an adventure waiting for us. But no matter which way we choose, it will never change who I am. I am the code administrator. I am the whistleblower. I am the widow. I am Cuba. So that was her update.
It's heartbreaking that, not only did she lose her job, but she lost her husband. She lost her life. They destroyed her. This is what people don't understand. Like,
Disney's not your family-friendly friend, like we keep telling you.
They're a corporation. They're a for-profit corporation, and they have to do what's in their best interest. But there are two Disneys. There's the public face, and unfortunately, a lot of people who work for Disney only see the public face. And they're very good at keeping up the facade, but when the chips are down,
they lay you off. Oh, I'm sorry.
When the chips are down, Mickey is nasty. Mickey is the nastiest rat you're ever gonna meet.
There's so many lawsuits that come out, and they have a lot of merit, and they either disappear, or the people just completely get railroaded, or people even the I know the person that did the assessment for the tax assessments and stuff on the properties and wasn't a well-liked person in Florida, from my understanding. However, it was funny to me that they kept suing, Disney kept suing, and all these other people joined in because they didn't like the assessment they were given to how much taxes they had to pay.
Yeah.
Disney wants to charge you through the nose and say it's because it's the Disney brand and because of the way the hotel is, and it's a deluxe or it's the brand. So you get to charge more than a similar hotel outside of the parks. But then when they're assessed on taxes for their brand, they scream and shout and do everything they can until they get everything changed to accommodate and help themselves.
Yeah, and again, look, I get that they're a for-profit corporation, but what I'm trying to say here is that their public image does not mesh with how they are in reality, and this company has changed a lot. I mean, they've always been aggressive, but I can tell you within the last 10 years they've gotten worse, and I do believe her. I believe that they're fudging numbers. We've seen some stuff just on the down low. There's kind of like that's kind of iffy.
But we see how they're doing with Disney Plus even, and how they're counting numbers, to say, oh, we have more subscribers and blah, blah, blah. And there's a lot of weirdness that goes on. And I want to point out that she was there when she got gone. It was under Iger. And apparently the stuff went clear up to Christine McCarthy, who I called Corella.
I believe that because look, their bonuses are dependent on the numbers and their stock value, because right now Disney's stock is not in a terribly good place. It's basically flatlined. They have a lot of things working against them. Their box office hasn't been great in the last couple movies. So do I believe that Disney has been playing hokey pokey with the numbers for the last 5 to 10 years? Yeah, absolutely.
But I believe most corporations have.
I believe they do.
I don't think they're doing anything different than other corporations do. I'll make that clear. No. I don't think Disney is. I'm just saying all corporations at the heart, this is what they're like.
It doesn't matter what their public face is. If it's a megacorp, global mega corporation, they're going to do what they got to do. And
their choices make choices they make is because, is the pander or to try to gain favor. It's not because they actually believe it or care.
No, they don't believe.
You see Disney constantly putting out stories. Well, we donated this amount of money to this group and this amount, which is great. I'm glad that they're donating money and help groups. But they're just doing it to put that's the public face, and for all that they're doing, there's all this other stuff back here that they're doing also.
Yeah, Abigail Disney would not last on the Disney board. People are like, why don't they have any Disneys on the Disney board anymore? I'm like, she wouldn't last because she'd take a look at it and be like, oh my God, this is what we do.
Well, and she'd run to the media with everything they're doing.
Yeah, and they can't have that either. So, I mean, this was amazing that it got out because usually Disney makes it disappear before it hits the media.
Right, and I love how she made sure she put an update to let people know. I settled, and here's what's going on. Because a lot of times they just suddenly don't hear anything anymore. It's gone.
I am thinking that was actually a term of the settlement. Because a lot of times,
I am thinking too.
She probably said, "Okay, I will settle." Because
you cannot shut me up because I have the leverage to.
Or I can at least give one more update. But I will.
Well, it doesn't
settle.
sound like that because it sounds like she's going to continue to fight them. So here's the thing: it's like. She might have had the leverage because it seems like she because they got Disney scared enough to settle when they would refuse to settle. We're just gonna steamroll this woman, and then it got to a place where they couldn't just get out of it like they kept trying to legally do. So it was going to go to trial. At the point it seems like they didn't want something to come out, and if she's allowed to talk about it, at least one more statement, she had leverage.
So now that document's out there, this is out there again. The mainstream media does not seem to be covering it. I think a lot of people forgot it was a thing.
I don't think they forgot. I think some forgot, but I think some they're just too afraid to cover
quote unquote forgot it was a thing. But I mean, good on her for sticking to it. And I mean, what she lost is just it's horrible. It's heartbreaking. And this is who they are, guys. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, you can still like the movies, you can still go to the theme parks, whatever. But if you've got any illusions about, at the heart of it, Disney being a bloodthirsty corporation.
But to be fair, they pretty much all the corporations are.
They all are.
I mean, short of
Walmart would do the same thing.
Going
Amazon
off
would
the
do the
grid
same thing.
and never using anything ever again. There's no way you can avoid it.
Right, but people stand so hard for Disney compared to other corporations because they get the warm fuzzies from Disney. And I'm like, no, don't be fooled. Don't be fooled. This is...
You can still enjoy things.
Yeah.
Just understand, if you do one thing wrong, this is what's going to happen.
If you do one thing wrong, if you step out of line, Mickey's going to backhand you with his giant white glove. That's what's going to happen.
So this is her statement. This is what supposedly happened with the story. Just updating you.
All right.
So there you go.
All right, guys. So we're going to wrap this up. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, and we'll talk later.
Bye.